Welcome to the Don't Feed the Fear podcast, where we dive into the complex world of food allergy anxiety. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Whitehouse, food allergy anxiety psychologist and food allergy mom. Whether you're dealing with allergies yourself or supporting someone who is, join us for an empathetic and informative journey toward food allergy calm and confidence. Many of us in the food allergy community know the story of a little girl in Texas named Charlotte with severe eczema, food allergies, asthma, and EOE. Unfortunately, in 2022, when she was 12 years old, Charlotte passed away from a severe food allergy reaction. Understandably, Charlotte's family has been grieving and processing their loss. They shared some of the details around Charlotte's death at that time, but Charlotte's mom, Portia Barton, reached out to me and wanted to share more details about the full story and the events that led up to Charlotte's passing in order to protect and benefit others in the food allergy community as much as possible. I do want to give a trigger warning that Portia discusses the details about the day that Charlotte died, which obviously might be distressing for many people to listen to, so please don't listen with young children around, and please use your own judgment if you feel that's a helpful thing for you to listen to at this point in time or not. I have so much appreciation for Portia for being here to share this story. Portia, it's been wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. I know you have a lot of your story about your beautiful daughter, Charlotte, that you wanted to share with the food allergy community. Would you mind saying how we got in contact with each other and decided to do this episode?
Yeah, sure. So, thank you so much for having me. I'm on Instagram and a couple different social media platforms, and I came across your content about kissing with food allergies. And it really just hit home with me. I haven't seen a whole lot of content around this, and I feel like it's such an important topic to discuss, especially for people with food allergies, parents and caregivers of those with food allergies, and how people just don't always know the seriousness of what it can lead to. And so, yeah, I just felt like in my heart to connect. And yeah, here we are. So thank you for shining a light on this important topic.
Yes, thank you. It resonated so much with so many people. And that's where Charlotte was, right on the cusp of these teenage years where everything is changing and there's so much new stuff and independence.
Yeah. Charlotte was 12 years old and she was in seventh grade. Charlotte is my fifth child, my baby girl, and she was born on New Year's Day of 2010. She was about 5 weeks old, and I was nursing her, and she was not really gaining weight like she should have been. And of course, I'm trying to make all the milk and I'm eating all the things, peanut butter, eggs. I mean, all this protein rich allergic type foods, and Charlotte broke out into eczema all over her body, and it became infected with staph. And so here is my 5-week-old newborn baby with horrible rashes of eczema infected with staph, and like she was just not gaining weight. She ended up at the ER and they admitted her right away, and she was kind of a mystery to the doctors because they had to run numerous tests, and she saw numerous doctors to try to see what was going on. And through a process of elimination of a bunch of serious diseases, they're like, your daughter has food allergies. And I'm like, what? I mean, it was such an eye-opening time. I will say food allergies runs in our family on both my husband and my side of the family. And so, okay, we have a baby that has food allergies, and so this is new. But she was in the hospital for about 7 or 8 days, put her on a special elemental formula to help her gain weight. And she was in the hospital, they put me on a strict diet too, because I was nursing, but I could not keep up. I stopped nursing. She was doing so good on the formula. Like you could just see that it was really helping her and giving her that nourishment that I just couldn't make without eating the things that she was allergic to.
Right.
And so we became a food allergy family with this tiny, tiny baby. She did get better, and we slowly, very, very slowly introduced foods to her. She had a blood test when she was about 9 months old, and it showed us like what all she was allergic to. So we knew from early on. I guess the reaction was kind of a blessing in disguise, like what not to feed her very early on. So she was on the Elecare for like a while. Introducing foods was a very difficult and different process for me compared to my other children, but we had the help of doctors telling us what to do and what not to do and things she was allergic to. Eggs, dairy, and she couldn't have baked eggs or scrambled eggs. Dairy, peanuts, all nuts, fish, shellfish. She could eat wheat and soy, which I'll take it. My daughter has celiac, my older daughter, so I know wheat can be an issue, but I was thankful that she could have soy and wheat with no complications. Yeah.
Work with what you've got and feed your baby.
Yeah, exactly. She did really good. When she was 4, I had taken her to see her allergy doctor, and she was like, "Well, has she done a baked egg challenge?" And I'm like, "Well, no. I mean, we avoid, like we strictly avoid all, the things that she can't have." And she's like, "Well, I would try to make a baked item and give her a little piece of it at home." And I was like, "Okay." She's like, "Just have your Eppies close by." And I was like, "Okay." So I did that, and immediately she started to struggle, and so she was epied then. Yeah. And then when I looking down the road, that should have been done in a doctor setting. But you do what you do what
Did
you
what the
think
doctor
you're
told
supposed
you
to be
to.
doing. Yes,
Right.
yes. So yes, so yes. And then so Charlotte started kindergarten. We were in a very great nut-free school district. She sat at the allergy-friendly table, sometimes by herself, in her younger grades, but she always took her lunch. She never bought lunch. She very early on, like, knew what she could and she couldn't have. And, if somebody came around her with their snack at their table, and she was like, I'm allergic to that, and you need to take that somewhere else. She was not scared to tell anybody to back up. I mean, all through school, there were never any accidents or anything like that. And there were some times where she would smell certain things, and they would um, make her feel like she was wheezing sometimes with certain things. But throughout school, up until 7th grade, she was safe, and everything was really great. So, yeah, and then just a little bit of a backstory. My family moved in 2020, like right during COVID, from like our family home where we grew our family, and we downsized. We went to another school district over, and Charlotte started 5th grade in a new school district. She finished 1 year of 5th grade in elementary, and then the following year she went to a middle school. So she started middle school for 6th grade. And I want to say from after that 5th grade year, kind of into middle school, she really started to blossom a personality of what she would be as a teenager. I mean, and it was kind of early on, I think, a little bit, but she has older siblings that she saw them just living their best life as, teens. And she wanted to do that too. Like, she would try to wear makeup, and she would, take pictures and do things that her older siblings were doing. And so sometimes she did, she seemed more mature, I would say, than maybe another 11 or 12-year-old. So Charlotte was a super smart kiddo. She was in the spelling bee finals in 4th grade. She was a Girl Scout in her younger years. She loved music, and she loved her family and her friends, of course, too. And she just was an overall pretty great kiddo. She didn't get in trouble a whole lot, and she was a great big sister to her younger brothers. She was like little mommy to them, especially Brandon, who came. She was born in 2010, and he was born in 2013. And so they were like two peas in a pod. She helped potty train him. We found out Brandon had food allergies. She just kind of like took him under her little big sister wing, and she was making herself food, she was making him food, she was reading him books, and then she was just a really good big sister to her little brothers. But going into 6th grade, she would be like, y'all are getting on my nerves, get out of here. She was just taking chances in her words and like saying new things and just, feeling out. Yeah, just feeling out like, what am I going to do today? Like, what can I do different today? And that was Charlotte. She was always evolving and ever changing and stuff. So in September, well, she started 7th grade in August of 2022. My husband and I are working at home, and Charlotte calls me on my phone. And sometimes like I didn't answer the phone. Sometimes she would just like call me from school, burp in my ear, laugh, and hang up. Okay. Like, and I just
12-year-old.
yes. And I just thought, oh my gosh, and I was just in the middle of doing something. And so she texted me 911, I need you to pick up. And so she called me right back, and she was hysterical. She was crying. She was like, Mom, I accidentally ate a piece of candy I wasn't supposed to. And I'm like, okay, where are you? And she's like, I'm at the nurse. And so she gives her phone to the nurse, and I start carrying on a conversation with the nurse. Meanwhile, my husband and I are getting in the car to go to the school, and because it's super close. And the nurse is like, so she's okay. She's not in respiratory distress right now. She said her throat feels tight. I had her brush her teeth. I gave her some Benadryl. Do you want me to call an ambulance, or do you want us to wait for you here? And I'm like, we'll be right there. We're on our way. And so we get to the school, and Charlotte was hesitant about taking her EpiPen because she had a fear of having an EpiPen. So super quick chat. Her dad gave her EpiPen, and she was like, oh my gosh, like that was nothing. That was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. And so what had happened is some friends like had a bag of candy that had things in it that she couldn't have, but there was also Skittles in the bag. So she accidentally grabbed a sweet tart, which has egg whites in it, and Charlotte was allergic to eggs. So that's what caused that first reaction, was accidentally eating a sweet tart and not a Skittle.
Okay.
So right there, Charlotte had her EpiPen. We waited there, and we sat there for a little while with her. She was great. She recovered beautifully, and she was so proud of herself. And she's like, I just want to go home and go to bed. And so we took her home. The nearest hospital from us is like 3-4 minutes away. So I didn't hesitate taking her home because the hospital was super close. So she came home, she put Fuller House on the couch, she watched some Fuller House, and she fell asleep for hours. I had slept out on the couch out there with her that night so I could keep an eye on her and stuff. And she was pretty drowsy. She didn't really want to eat dinner. She was just like, she just slept. And so the next morning, September 27th, and Charlotte was like him and hawing about not wanting to go to school. And I'm like, you need to go to school. Like, I'll email your PE teacher so you don't have to do any strenuous activity or whatever. And so we did that. She went to school, texted me wanting to make plans to do things after school. And she did fine. She did fine throughout the day at school. She got home, and she had a little boyfriend who was a grade above her. He was going to come over and hang out. And I knew this boy. I knew his parents and his mother. His mother graciously and thoughtfully contacted me and called me saying, I'm going to Sam's. What can I get Charlotte to eat? I'm going to make dinner. What can she have? What can I make for her that's safe? So conversations were had. Everybody knew about Charlotte's food allergies. Awkward conversations were had too about kissing and what to do and what not to do. and toothbrushing and mouthwash, and those conversations were had. Um, and so fast forward to the evening, he comes over. They're all hanging out, messing with the dogs. The boys, their younger brother, were bothering them, and so I mean, it was just a normal evening. It was just like any other night, you know. And so I start making dinner, and I go in there, and I'm like, "You guys want some dinner? I'm cooking dinner." And Charlotte's like, just save me a plate. You know, I'll eat later or whatever. And so I did. And then this boy's like, no, ma'am, I already ate before I came. You know, my mom took me to get some food before I came. And I'm like, okay. And so a little bit of time goes by. It's time for him to go home. And his mom is on his way to pick him up. My husband and I are like just sitting down from the day. And we hear the nebulizer come on in the living room. And we both go out there, and Charlotte's getting on the nebulizer, and she's like, I can't breathe. And that was the last words that she ever said to me, to us, was, I can't breathe. So what quickly happened was a little bit of panic, a little bit of chaos. Charlotte was nervous because this boy was here witnessing this. And we quickly put him in the back in a room. And I grabbed Charlotte's EpiPen and we left for the ER. She walked to the car. Okay. When we got in the car, she gave herself the EpiPen in her leg, and it did absolutely nothing. She could not speak. She could not talk. She was just gasping for air. And I am driving like a mad woman. I am running lights. It felt like it took forever, even though we got there in minutes. Charlotte was blue at this point. I picked her up and took her in there, and they immediately whisked her back. I left my car running. I left the doors open. Somebody went and parked my car for me because it was just nuts. And so while I'm talking to triage in the ER, she goes into cardiac arrest in the back. And so they start CPR. Now I'm not back there. They start CPR. She goes into shock from being resuscitated. And when I got back there, it was bad. She had not yet been intubated, but it was bad. We're at the hospital close by. It's not a kid's hospital. And they're saying they need to transfer her to Cook's in downtown Fort Worth. And so we were there for a little while. But I mean, I knew that things were bad, but I didn't know that she wasn't ever going to wake up again. Then begins this grueling 6 days of just watching her basically deteriorate. We talked to Charlotte's sister, and she said, Mom, they kissed. They had to have kissed. And it clicked because he had told me where he had eaten. And I did get confirmation from his mother that they had kissed as well. That's when it clicked that they had kissed and caused her to go into anaphylactic shock.
All while you're sitting with her in the hospital, that's when you put these pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine how overwhelming that must have been to process on top of what was already going on.
Yeah, his mom, we were friends. We were in communication a lot because our kids were hanging out, you know. I had gone and had lunch with her and had coffee and stuff with her, and we we just would talk about things, and there was an understanding that they had kissed, but
Mhm.
I had made a post and I had brought up kissing, like dying from kissing, and she reached out to me because she didn't put it together till later. But on Charlotte's death certificate, it says anaphylactic shock from peanuts. And Charlotte didn't eat peanuts.
Right.
She hadn't eaten anything.
Right. She was just hanging out at home, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
having any dinner. Yeah, you said.
Mm-hmm. People have come to me through sharing Charlotte's story confused
Mhm.
about how everything went down and what happened from one reaction to the next. And that's been going on for a couple years because I mean, it's just been 2.5 years, a little over that, since all this happened. And I just didn't know how to say that. I didn't know how to say my daughter's death was an accident from just taking a risk and not thinking in the moment. And, you know, my 10-year-old, 11-year-old Charlotte would not have done what my 12-year-old Charlotte did, I don't think. So, I've had parents, allergy kiddo parents, reach out to me and just be like, what, I'm confused, what happened? Like, but also thank you for like letting us know and shedding a light on the seriousness of food allergies.
It happens too often where someone, young person, adults too, die from their food allergies. And we all panic. All these questions that you're getting, everybody wants to know exactly what happened because we feel frantic to protect our own children or ourselves.
Right.
But you had every right to not answer every question. And I'm sorry that you were bombarded with, I'm sure people were well meaning, but
Yeah.
you were grieving, you were figuring it out yourselves, and you're not obligated to answer all of the questions that we have out of fear as a community when you're going through a tragedy like this. So I'm sorry that that was on top of everything you were already dealing with. I think that happens often when there's a story like this.
Yeah.
It must be tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And to protect my heart, I knew that I would say it when I was ready and it was the
Yeah.
appropriate time. And I feel like, especially with more and more stories that are coming out about kiddos dying from their food allergies, I want to help any way I can to prevent this from happening to anyone ever again.
Yeah.
um like I was telling you earlier, like I have another child that has the same life-threatening allergies, food allergies that Charlotte did.
Mhm.
And we are entering the phase of where Charlotte was with him. And so there's a lot of fear, there's a lot of anxiety. I'm very overprotective and things like that, when it comes to choices and things that he does and I will allow him to do and things like that. I don't want to instill fear, but I just want everybody to realize the seriousness. I mean, that's all I want. Like it's, no eye rolling, no like don't overreact. Like just take a Benadryl, you'll be fine. None of that. Like it's, and everybody's story is unique and different, and there's different levels of severe and mild and all that, and but it's still serious and it still can happen and it still did,
Mhm.
even with prevention
Right.
and keeping those lines of communication open with your teens and your preteens, especially when they're at that risk taking age. It's so important. um I miss her so much, and I wonder how she would be and what she would be doing. She'd be 15, and she wanted to be an epidemiologist. Like diseases, like she thought they were the coolest things. She was curious, and she had like her own notebook of epidemiology stuff that she had began studying. My parents gave her a book, an epidemiology book one time for like Christmas a couple years back, and she studied it and wrote notes about diseases and stuff. So she was, I mean, she would have changed the world, but she is changing the world just in a different way.
Thank you for sharing it with us. You touched on something that I know is important for both of us, that we're not doing this to scare people, right? We don't want to just instill fear. We want to take Charlotte's message and, like you said, what change can she bring into the world through her life? And it shines a light on that, because this was not a case of we didn't know that information. We didn't realize that could be dangerous. I never talked to my child about it. She did everything right. But the reality is 12-year-old kids do not make decisions based on those things at every moment of every day of
Yeah.
their lives. You said it so powerfully, like 10-year-old Charlotte never would have done this. 11-year-old Charlotte, probably not. And then these developmental stages hit and things change. So
Yeah.
that's a hard reality to see, but it goes beyond just like, well, I told her not to do it, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like the instance too with the candy, like I mean, she would have never done that. Like,
Right.
I mean, and she always had like goodies and snacks and stuff with her. I mean, she always carried a bag or a purse or something with all of her
Mhm.
stuff in it. And so I do have periods of time where I woulda, coulda, shoulda, and I know that that's something that I have to work through, and it's not helpful to do that to myself on a consistent basis, and I try not to, but it's always there. And so, if I can bring change and just help my son Brandon and anybody else and any scared mom or dad out there or caregiver who's worried about their food allergy kiddo, I just felt like it was the time to just share as much as I could of Charlotte's story to just help anybody out and answer any questions and clear up any confusion. That's her legacy, and I am her legacy keeper at this point from now on. And I guess that's what I'm here for now. And
And I just want to reiterate, you did everything the doctors told you to do. You followed instructions, you did all the things. So it's a normal process that you're going through in terms of working through regrets and what could I have done differently. Are there things you want them to know based on your experience?
yeah, I mean, I want them to know that when it comes to their health and their safety, that there may come a time and there will come a time where you are intimate with someone and you have to ask them what they ate. It's kind of strange because if you're getting intimate with someone, you're at that level with them. But how awkward is it to say, "Yeah, did you have any peanut butter today? Because I want to smooch, but I'm a little scared." But you literally have to do that. And so advocate for yourself before anything. And the conversations might be awkward. You know what? But I would rather it be awkward than deadly.
Right. Right. And to be fair, it's easy to say as adults, and it's so hard to experience as a young person, but it's all awkward. First kisses are awkward. Dates are awkward, whether it's someone you're already intimate with or spontaneous, kids at a party or something like that. It's all awkward. We all have our awkward stuff around it. So I know that doesn't take it away from kids to say that, but I think it helps to remind them to put it in that bigger picture perspective. Like,
Yeah.
it's all going to feel weird. You're a teenager. It's uncomfortable. Be uncomfortable safely, because you're going to be uncomfortable,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like that, to just be uncomfortable safely.
Mhm.
Because, it's just a moment. It's just a moment, and life goes on and things progress and everything. But don't ever be embarrassed to advocate for yourself, because sometimes you're embarrassed or you feel like a burden, and I know sometimes Charlotte felt like her food allergies were a burden. And I don't want anybody to feel that way. Talk to somebody, reach out to a friend, or if you've got a therapist or somebody that can help you work through some of these triggers and phobias and things that bring this fear around food allergies. It really does help having a community and talking it out and talking with people who relate and who get it. The community is such a powerful thing. I'm learning that in this space, and I'm learning it in the grief space. I'm learning it in all ways, the importance of connecting with people, even when things are hard, because sometimes that's what helps get us through, is just having that relation with somebody who gets it. So,
Absolutely. And the people who get it, who don't find your needs to be a burden, are your people. They are your community. But if they
Yeah.
find it to be burdensome or problematic or irritating or whatever the fear is, they're not your people. And again, that's easy to say and hard to feel when you're a young person, especially. The feeling of rejection in your adolescence is
Yeah.
just so huge. But it's a lesson like many other things that our kids have to learn younger,
Right.
unfortunately. Right.
Right, right. And it's true because like you said, they're right on that cusp of where they're feeling all the feels,
Mm.
and feelings are all that matter in moments. And so it takes in those awkward, tough conversations with your kiddos when they're getting into middle school. Like I know like for my son Brandon, he's about to go into 7th grade, and we have like quadrupled up on conversations, especially with what's happened in our family. But middle school is a good starting point, I think, for that, for those talks. And so going forward, I'll continue to, talk about Charlotte and her life. She left an iPhone with like over 8,000 images and videos and many blurry pictures. I guess that's a thing that kids are just the pictures are blurry, and I'm like, what am I looking at here? But I'm so thankful for that we have that, and I have all these sweet images and little things that I'm so thankful for.
I love your photos of her. Thank you so much for sharing her with all of us. I mean, she just looks like
Yeah,
the greatest, most beautiful little vibrant soul of a little person. So I appreciate
thank
that
you.
sharing that with all of us and giving us a glimpse, to remember and to help other people. Thank you for protecting all of our children. Thank you for taking your pain and using it in a way that will make the rest of us safer.
Well, it's all I know to do. I got to put it somewhere. I can't leave it inside. Like it's not going to stay.
No,
There's moments where I feel like I can't do this, and like it's just too painful, but I would rather people have to know her like through the photos and through the posts and the videos and through me, than to not have known her at all. So she was my sunshine and a soul.
what a beautiful girl.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming here to talk to all of us about it and for sharing your story. You sound like you're open to people reaching out. I know you said you're on social media. Do you want to share where they can find you?
Yeah, for sure. I have two Instagrams. Charlotte's is at Live Like Char. And then I have like a grieving, I am Portia Barton, a place where I kind of put my grief. And then I'm on Facebook, Portia Barton on Facebook. I'm on TikTok, but not so much. It's hard to keep up with all these social media platforms. I'm
Do
just,
it.
it's a lot. But I've also got some YouTube stuff going on that's in the works and stuff like that. So, but probably Instagram would probably be a good place to connect.
I'll encourage everybody to follow and listen along and celebrate her life with you along and just show our appreciation to you for sharing with all of us.
I appreciate it so much. And thank you for all you do as well. Thank you.
Thank you again so much for joining me, Portia, and sharing this important story and telling us about your girl, Charlotte. As Portia said, she's very generously open to your questions, to conversation about this important topic. So you can reach her through the links she shared. The links are also provided in the notes. You can share your comments and questions with me, with either of our Instagram posts directly, and we'll be monitoring those to respond to any questions or to discuss this in any way that would be helpful for you. As you do that, please be mindful that this is a grieving mother and a grieving family. All of our love goes out to Portia, to the whole family, to the young man and his family who were involved in this incident. It's heartbreaking, and we appreciate you having the bravery and the strength to share this to protect other people. And after listening, if you still have questions about this topic or you want to hear more, if you've missed it, there was a part 1 and a part 2 to this series on food allergies and intimacy. Part 1 is with Dr. Sicherer, speaking about the medical aspects of this. Part 2 was with Sloan Miller, Allergic Girl, and we talked about the social and emotional aspects of this. Those are episodes 25 and 26 of the podcast, and I encourage you to go back and listen if you haven't already. I also created a free handout on the topic to help you think through and remember the information that's been shared in the series. So feel free to reach out to me through the contact page on my website, through Instagram, or through my email. You can find the links to all of those in the notes here on the show and request that freebie, and I'll be happy to share it with you. Thank you for listening. The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any questions about your own medical experience or mental health needs, please consult a professional. I'm Dr. Amanda Whitehouse. Thanks for joining me. And until we chat again, remember, don't feed the fear.